Hey everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. As always, today on John's Briefs, I have my very favorite scumbag attorney, Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection. And we are going to talk today about whether pointing a firearm at somebody is ordinary force or deadly force. Now more than ever, you need trusted coverage to help you win the fight after the fight. The company I trust and recommend is Firearms Legal Protection. They offer discounts on all their plans at the link in the description. I recommend the premium plan. Terry, I just figured everybody else calls you a scumbag attorney, so somebody ought to that loves you.
And John, we want you in this club, and I think a lot of, again, please in the comment section, go John, thumbs up something for law school.
I'm not going to law school. It's
become a scumbag, John.
Some would argue I already am. So we're talking today, and this is the one, literally Terry off camera was like, I was hoping you wouldn't choose that one. Because I want to talk about the legality of pointing a firearm at somebody. So we obviously know shooting a firearm at somebody is the use of deadly force.
Absolutely.
Now, what about not shooting a firearm at them, but pointing a firearm at them?
So it's going to depend, I know your favorite words.
Favorite phrase.
On where you are. Obviously, in the state I'm barred in, Michigan, that is use of lethal force. I don't have to fire. Okay.
So if I point a gun,
if I point a gun, it's use of lethal force.
Okay.
Correct. Now, a lot of people still have the mistaken concept of if I shoot a gun at you and I miss, I haven't used lethal force. That's not true.
Not true.
The standard is any force that is strong enough that could potentially hurt you, maim you, kill you. Right?
Okay.
So if I pull a gun on somebody, am I using that force even though I haven't pulled the trigger? So it's there, it's ready to go. Do I have to pull the trigger for this to be considered a use of, or is just pulling it out a use of?
So what about drawing to like something like a low ready? So I draw a firearm in my hand, but I'm not pointing it at the guy. I'm at a low ready position saying, hey, get out of my space, I've got a gun.
Well, would that be considered attempted use of lethal force?
So it's like a defensive display.
Okay, could that be considered brandishing? Would you consider brandishing in some states a lesser included, per se, use of lethal force?
I think it certainly depends on the state, right?
Yeah.
So we have a statute in Arizona that is a very strong defensive display of a firearm statute. But you know what the funny part is? It's never been tested in court. So I was asking an attorney in Arizona, like, hey, what's the limits here? And his answer is, well, if you got 50 grand, we can find out. Just go wave a gun around and we'll see what happens. I'm like, yeah, hard pass. I'm good, right? I don't want to be that test case.
We're always looking for test cases.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. But the defensive display statute in Arizona says that you can inform somebody that you have a firearm. You can, show them that you have a firearm by showing it in a holster, or you can
open up.
Yeah, or you can display it in a defensive manner.
Right.
And that's a very vague bit. And I don't know if that means that I can draw to a low ready and say, back up off me. I think we're starting to get into a gray area here.
Right, and here's the other thing, if you think about it, a lot of people have the mentality, if I pull it, I have to shoot it.
No, let's not do that.
No, I agree. I 1,000% agree with you. But a lot of people have that mentality. And again, when you start the process, and what do I mean by the process? We talk about the, color codes of awareness, right? And I get to the point where I have to reach for, or I'm ready to, depends on where you are, use lethal force. And let's say I pull it out. Where am I at? What am I doing? That's what we have to understand. Do I really have to pull it out at this point? Because is that a use of lethal force, or is that a display? There's a lot of things in there that truly have got to be considered.
Yeah, and I think if you're in that spot of like the imminence, so it's not quite there, it's not immediate need, but it's like imminent. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be needed right now. That maybe if I can do so without telegraphing it and I put my hand on my gun or something like that, probably better to leave it in the holster and I give myself a little bit more wiggle room than if I draw the gun out, certainly and point it at somebody.
Right.
Or even bring it to a low ready. So I think leaving it in the holster, if I can, is probably a legally better way to go.
I know like in certain places like Michigan, you've got a felony firearm statute.
Oh boy.
Which is basically 2 years mandatory consecutive if you commit a crime and you use a firearm in the commission of that crime, right? So if I pull that gun out and let's say it's now just assault, felonious assault, I'm looking at a mandatory minimum of 2 years
Plus the felonious
plus
assault.
the felonious assault.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you need it, use it.
Right.
When you don't need it,
Leave it alone.
leave it alone.
So this is a good reminder. When do we use a firearm? A firearm is a tool of last resort. And that's from a moral perspective as well as from a legal one. In terms of drawing a firearm, don't go threatening people with guns. Leave that gun alone unless you feel like I don't have any other choice than to drive them off with the firearm. My only opportunity here is to draw a firearm because otherwise I'm dead meat.
Right.
If that's the case, well then deal with it. But otherwise, guys, don't point guns at people and don't think that just drawing to a low ready is going to save you. Appreciate it, Terry.
Thank you.